This evening is part 2 of the theme of reflecting on lessons from Ramayana. And for those of you that weren't with us on Tuesday evening, we discussed, in quotes, Sita's exile, because Sita was banished from Ayodhya, not exactly in exile, but so-called exile. And one of the commentaries, we discussed 8 different commentary explanations of why that happened. But one of them was Sita's offense to Lakshmana. Some of you were with us, some of you weren't with us. When Maricha called out, "Sita, Ram, help." Oh, Sita, Lakshman, help. Then Sita took it that Ram is calling for their help, and Lakshman didn't go, etc., etc., etc. You all know the story. And then she started insulting him. And it escalated, and it escalated, and it escalated, and very severe aparad. So we read a verse from Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that says, if one offends Krishna Preshta Aparad, you offend someone who is dear to Krishna, very serious consequences. And that's the situation in today's narration also, where Dvivida makes an offense to Lakshmana. 2, actually. One was in his mind, he didn't say anything, but he felt some demeaning attitude towards Lakshmana. And another was an explicit instruction to Sugriva. We'll hear the detail about not paying so much attention to Lakshman, paying attention to Ram. We'll go over the detail. The beginning, middle, and end is don't offend Lakshman. You're in for big trouble. Don't offend anyone. And we discussed this on Tuesday. We'll say it again. According to the commentators on Ramayana, Lakshman is like unto Ram as Guru is to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ram in the role of the Personality of Godhead, Lakshman in the role of Guru unto the Personality of Godhead. That is, he reveals, he gives the gift of the Personality of Godhead. He gives bhakti and gives the Personality of Godhead through bhakti. And you offend the one who does that, you've got a big problem. And that's what happened with Dvivida. And it passed many generations. It didn't just go away because he did something foolish and it passed. So we're going to hear, there's a lot of detail. You have to pay close attention to the detail. So we'll start with who is Dvivida. So prior to Dvivida, who shows up in Krishna's pastimes, Balaram killed Dvivida. We'll get to that towards the end. Mataji, there's a machine that's chanting. Dvivida and his brother Mainda were sons of the Ashvini Kumaras. And both Dvivida and Mainda were ministers of Sugriva. Before Ram and Lakshman came, they were ministers of Sugriva. And then eventually they became associates of Lord Ramachandra. So a little bit of the background. All of this is, you're quite familiar with Ramayana, so it's nothing new. When Ravana was out of control and the scourge not only of the earth planet, but even the heavenly planets, the demigods went to Lord Vishnu and appealed to Lord Vishnu, help. Please do something to check Ravana. So he agreed to help, and as you know, he made a request that they should descend with him to assist him in his pastimes. And he gave specific instructions that they should produce offspring that were of equal power to themselves, and they could assist in conquering Ravana and his horde of Rakshasa soldiers. So that message was conveyed to the demigods through Lord Brahma, very similar to Krishna's descent. And the Ashvini Kumaras, they became the fathers of mind and Dvivida. The Ashvini Kumaras are twin sons of Vivaswan, and amongst the demigods, they're royal physicians. They're not exactly demigods, they're royal physicians amongst the demigods. And similarly, Ashvini Kumaras were the father of Nakula and Sahadev, who were born of Madri, wife of Pandu. So there's this generational connection, Ashvini Kumaras. And the first we hear much about them is when the scene is they're at the shore of the ocean. It's concluded because Sampati indicates where Sita is, and it's 100 yojanas or 800 miles away. And so there's discussion, who can go find Sita and verify that Sita's there and reassure her that Ram is coming so she won't harm herself or something. So it was decided that was a necessary step. So the question was raised then by Angada, who can jump this whole distance, 800 miles, 100 yojanas? And Gaja said, I can jump 80 miles. And Gavaksha said, I can jump 160 miles. I can double. And then Minda said, I'm capable of jumping 480 miles. So we hear about their names in this connection, Kishkindakanda. And then Dvivida said he can jump 560 miles, but that's not 800 miles. So then, of course, Jambavan reminded Hanuman of his capabilities, and Hanuman remembered his capabilities, because Hanuman had a curse by the Brahmanas that he would forget his powers until somebody reminded him, and Jambavan reminded him. So then Hanuman made his leap. That's another discussion. Now, Dvivida is an associate of Lord Ramachandra, but before they were sent in those 4 different directions by Sugriva, there's this exchange. We'll hear some more about it shortly, but here's a painting of Sugriva wearing the crown, meeting Ramachandra. They're shaking hands, they're making their friendship vows, and Lakshmana standing behind Ram. There's Hanuman. And right behind Sugriva is his minister, Dvivida. And Dvivida, we'll hear the detail, but Dvivida was giving bad advice to Sugriva. Pay attention, don't pay much attention to Lakshman, he's less important. More important is Ram. Give full undivided attention to Ram. And that was an offense, because Guru is to be respected like Krishna or like Ramachandra. And we'll see this twice. When you make an offense to Vaishnava, there's consequences. And one of those consequences, not always the same way, but when there's unfavorable association, one becomes weakened due to the offense, and then one may be susceptible to unfavorable association. And when one becomes susceptible to unfavorable association, one develops anarthas, and the anarthas can take control of one's life. And anarthas can lead to further offense. It's a vicious cycle, so beware of offending a Vaishnav, beware of offending Lakshmana. So in Ram's Leela, who is Dvivida? So there's lots of scriptural teachings about this, in case you'd like to know. It took a while to gather all this description. According to Bhakti Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami's writings, they're eternal associates of Lord Ramachandra in the spiritual realm of Ayodhya, Minda and Dvivida. Eternal residents in the Vaikuntha realm. Here's what Jiva Goswami writes. They're called Avarana deities. You're going to see this name multiple times. Avarana means covered deities. The Avarana deities, like Minda and Dvivida, in worship of Ram, are Nitya Siddhas, dwelling in the Lord's eternal abode. There are others, so in contrast, jivas who are endowed with some of the Shakti of eternal associates, like Minda and Dvivida, and are called by the same name to help Ram or other avatars when they appear on earth. So the Minda and Dvivida in Ram's Leela are jivas that are bearing some of the Shakti of the Nitya Siddha persons in the Vaikuntha realm. Kind of like an angsa of a small empowered portion of the Nitya Siddha jivas. To assist Ramachandra. These jivas become corrupted. These Minda and Dvivida both became corrupted. Minda, he became corrupted by bad association with Vali, because Vali had bad attitude, that he had disdain, he had a bad relationship. He made offense to Sugriva. Not only made an offense, he kidnapped his wife and cohabited with his wife. And Minda was his buddy. So Minda became corrupted by Vali's association. Dvivida, on the other hand, he associated with Narakasura. We're going to hear the details, but this is just laying it out from Bhakti Sandarbha. Dvivida associated with Narakasura, who hated the Lord. So we'll hear more about Narakasura and how all that unfolded. This occurs because the Lord's appearance with his devotees is mixed with elements of the material world, that is, this Minda and Dvivida being jivas with mixed Nityasiddha powers, so mixed. So the authority for this little paragraph is Jiva Goswami's Bhakti Sandarbha, and Rupa Goswami makes similar remark in Laghu Bhagavatamrita. Some of you are a little newer. I don't know how new any of you are. So maybe I should give a little background in what is Laghu Bhagavatamrita. Laghu Bhagavatamrita is one of the books written by Rupa Goswami It's about this thick. It's published by the BBT with commentary by Baladev Vidyabhusan, detailed commentary. And the entire book is describing the avatars of Vishnu. So those of you that are a little bit newer, in Canto 1, Chapter 3 of Srimad Bhagavatam, there's the main subject matter of that Chapter 3 of Canto 1 is an answer to the question that the sages have asked Sutta Goswami, please describe the avatars of Vishnu. And there's a list, starting with the Purusha avatars, and then the avatars of the Purusha avatars, and Leela avatars, and Shaktivesh avatars, and so forth. So, without all the detail, Rupa Goswami goes through that, he goes through it again, and he goes through it again, he goes through it again, he goes through it 4 times. Thoroughly, with all scriptural references. That's Laghu Bhagavatamrita. So, in Laghu Bhagavatamrita, one of the topics touched on is Ram and Nrsimha, Lord Ramachandra and Lord Nrsimhadev, they're called Avarana deities of Krishna. What does that mean? Krishna, from Rupa Goswami's teachings, he has 64 qualities in full. 4 of those qualities only Krishna has, and the other forms of the Lord have the other 60 qualities in lesser fullness than Krishna has. In that sense, avarana. So here's what he writes. Because Krishna is Sarup Rupa, Swayam Rupa, he's the original form of the Supreme Lord. Swayambhuva Agama, in the chapter describing the 14-syllable mantra, one of our Gayatri mantras, that Rama and Nrsimha are worshipped as avarana deities of Krishna. So we're going to see different ways in which this term is used. In detail, if you can't remember all the details, quite okay. Just get the basic picture, what's being presented. Another reference is Krishna Sandarbha, that's Jiva Goswami's writings. In other places, the term avarana deities indicate the Lord's surrounding deities. The Lord's surrounding deities. For example, the Chaturvyuha forms are the Lord's surrounding deities. What's the Chaturvyuha? Some of you are newer, so you don't know what that term means. Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradumna, and Aniruddha, that makes 4. That's the Chaturvyuha. So Krishna appears, Vasudeva. Balaram appears, that's Sankarshan. And Pradumna and Aniruddha, that's the Chaturvyuha forms of the Lord. They exist in Goloka, they exist in Vaikuntha, they exist when the Lord performs his pastimes. They're aspects of the Supreme Lord. Chaturvyuha. Those Chaturvyuha are also called avarana deities. To Krishna, Govinda in Goloka, in the spiritual sky. So in the highest of all the spiritual planets is Goloka, and they're there. And they're assisting Govinda in a certain capacity as avarana deities. Just defining terms, so that we understand what's going on with Dvivida and Minda. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, another celebrated acharya, writes, partial expansions of both Dvivida and Minda, that's from the Vaikuntha realm, Dvivida and Minda are there, partial expansions of them participate in Lord Rama's earthly Leela, with the Lord's explicit purpose of teaching us the consequence of offense to a dear devotee of the Lord. It's not a pleasant topic, but it's good to know there's consequences and don't mess. During the battle in Lanka, the battle chapter, battle kanda. Dvivida's heroic deeds in battle with Ravana were abundant. For example, there was a battle where he was teamed up on by both Ravana and Meghanath, and they were unable to defeat him. He's very powerful. Dvivida was very powerful. However, he was defeated by Lord Balaram. And this is in 10th canto, chapter 67. We'll get there later. A commentary by Jiva Goswami from Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 67, that's the slaying of Dvivida. Here's what Jiva Goswami writes in his commentary, second verse of the whole chapter. Though Dvivida associated with Sugriva, that was good fortune, because Sugriva was a very dear devotee. The cause of his present foolishness was his friendship with Naraka. We'll hear the details. As a result, bad association with Naraka and a prior offense to Lakshmana, he had a problem. He became extremely evil-minded. The cause of this bad association was his pride in his strength, by which he did not respect Lakshmana. So I'll repeat it a few times in the course of this evening because it's good to know what did Dvivida do anyways. And it wasn't so extreme. That one I mentioned already, when Hanuman was introducing Sugriva to Ram, his minister was behind Sugriva saying, pay more attention to Ram. Don't pay. He's the one you should give focus to. Lakshmana isn't so important. Now, that's not so much his strength, but this offense came later. Minda and Dvivida are two forms worshipped as Avarana deities when worshipping Ram. You know, Sitaram, Lakshman, Hanuman, that's our standard Ram deity. But it is also appropriate, Minda and Dvivida, because they are Nityasiddhas in that aspect of worship of Lord Ramachandra. They are situated in Vaikuntha. The Minda and Dvivida mentioned in this verse are persons endowed with their Shakti. Okay, I'm going to move and then come back again. So the move is, there's Banasura, the 1,000 armed son of Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj became king. And Bali Maharaj had 100 sons. The eldest of his 100 sons was named Bana. Bana became very devoted to Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva gave him a benediction that he could have 1,000 arms. And with his 1,000 arms, he played drums so that Shiva could dance, and he was very pleased with him. Lord Shiva said, take any benediction you like. He said, yes. You guard my kingdom. Wasn't a nice request. But Lord Shiva became the guard of his kingdom. And this led to chapter 62, where the eldest daughter of Bana, or Banasura, was Usha. And you know the story of Usha and Aniruddha. Anyone here not know the story of Usha and Aniruddha? Okay, I'll describe the story of Usha and Aniruddha. Aniruddha is the son of Pradyumna. Pradyumna is Krishna's first son. Pradyumna is the son of Krishna and Rukmini. Pradyumna is the son of Krishna and Rukmini. And Rukmini Pradyumna had children. The eldest of his children was Aniruddha. Aniruddha is heroic. He had powers like the Chaturvyuha, have enormous power. He was a great heroic fighter. And Usha, this is quick, it's a nice chapter, but we're not going to discuss the whole chapter. Usha kept having this dream that in her dream, somebody would come and visit her. And she didn't know who it was, but she fell in love with the man who came to her in her dream. So Usha had a friend. And Usha's friend was named Chitralekha. Chitra means she could draw. She's really good at drawing. So, and she had mystic powers. So one of her mystic powers was she drew pictures of men and asked Usha, is this one, is this him, is this one, is this him? And when she saw the picture of Aniruddha, she blushed. That's him. So Chitralekha said, you know what? One of my powers, in addition to drawing, is in his sleep, I can bring him here to be with you at the dead of night. While he's asleep, I'll bring him here. And she did it. So Aniruddha woke up, finding himself in the bedchamber of Usha. And you know, in Vedic culture, that's a no-no. Men don't go in ladies' chambers. There he was. And so they fell in love. Nice love story. Until her father, Usha's father, figured it out. Bana, got reports from his assistants, your daughter is up to something. There's marks on her body and da-da-da-da-da-da. You better go check it out. And he went in when he wasn't supposed to go in. And he saw the two of them together. And he became incredibly disturbed. He had a gift in addition to protecting Lord Shiva protecting him. He got weapons from Lord Shiva, including a Naga Pashu weapon. He used that Naga Pashu weapon to control Aniruddha and put him in jail. Didn't kill him. Could have killed him. He could have tried anyways. But he's in jail. And the word came to the Vrishni dynasty, Aniruddha's in Banasura's jail. Whoa. The whole Vrishni dynasty, army, so many Akshohinis, I forget the number, some 100 and something Akshohini divisions of soldiers all converged on the kingdom Banasura, and a big battle ensued. Now, Shiva is supposed to be the protector of Banasura's kingdom, so he got involved in protecting Banasura. Details and details and details. Krishna didn't kill Banasura, but he chopped off all but 4 of his arms. And Lord Shiva offered prayers to Krishna, save my devotee. He said, yes. He'll be in your association, but freed from the pride of his having so many arms and so powerful. It was done for you, Lord Shiva. You're my dear devotee. So that's the Usha and Aniruddha story. 1 chapter in 5 minutes. So here's the second verse, commentary. No, that's commentary. This is Shukadeva Goswami saying, Bana was the oldest of the 100 sons, fathered by the great saint Bali Maharaj, who gave the whole earth in charity to Lord Hari. And when he appeared as Vamanadev, Banasura, born from Bali's semen, became a great devotee of Lord Shiva. So more in chapter 62 of Canto 10. You got to listen carefully, otherwise you're going to get confused. So I hope you're listening carefully. Chapter 62. Banasura, to repeat for the third time. He is the eldest son of Bali, and he, Banasura, had demoniac tendencies from birth. So he was a corrupting agent for whom? Narakasura. Narakasura wasn't bad, but in the association with Banasura, he became bad. Because Narakasura was the son of Lord Varaha and Bhumi. And then through his Narakasura's association, Dvivida became corrupted due to his offense of Lakshmana. His bhakti power became weakened by offense. He could have been protected from bad association, but he wasn't by his offense to Lakshmana. So here's a little bit about who is Narakasura. Narakasura was the son of Bhumi, or Mother Earth, or also called Bhoma, and when Lord Varaha lifted the earth in contact with the earth, a child was born. It is said in other Puranas, Narakasura was the son of Dharitri, the earth. There's people that came fashionably late, and we're getting a little signal. This is traffic control. Can those of you that are towards the front come forward? Those of you that are in the middle, come towards the front. I'll just stop until you do all that. Thank you very much. Thank you all very much. Move forward. That's very good. Then we won't have to do it again. Okay. Thank you. So notice the reference. It's third canto. There's a section in the third canto, as well as in the first canto, chapter 3, was describing avatars. And this one is third canto, chapter 3, text 6. That's Narakasura. Narakasura became corrupted through the association of Banasura. Banasura was corrupted from birth. How did Narakasura become a demon? Bad association with Bana. Prabhupada writes, same purport. Birth is not always the criterion of goodness unless and until one is trained in the culture of good association, one cannot become good. So you come from nice families. That's good, but it's insufficient. You have to have good association for your good children, and then they can become good too. The opposite can also happen. Bad association, they can become bad, even from good families. So now back to the battle. You remember the battle? There's Krishna on his chariot, along with all the armies of Dwaraka, and there's on the far right side, there's Banasura with his 1,000 arms and so many bows and so many arrows and he's firing arrows at Krishna. Shame on him. Now, what they did with Lord Shiva, as you see in the lower left, he was hit with a yawn weapon. They didn't have to harm him or anything. No battle, he just yawn weapon. And there's Kartikeya flying around. There's Ganesh down below, fighting with Aniruddha, and so forth. So it's a big battle between the soldiers of Dwaraka, the Vrishni dynasty, and Banasura. And Banasura lost. Krishna protected him. So now we're going back to chapter 67, the second verse. Narakasura is described as the friend of Narakasya, Sakha, of Dvivida. to show that although Dvivida was the minister of the great devotee Sugriva and an associate of Lord Ramachandra, he became corrupted by the bad association of Naraka. That's in the next life. And this caused anarthas to arise in him. The bad association was, in big letters, red letters, bad association was the reaction for an offense Dvivida had committed when he disrespected Lakshmana due to being proud of his strength. Now, that's explicitly stated multiple times, and it took a while to find the example, and the example is this, cut and paste from Valmiki Ramayana. Lakshmana became unconscious after being pierced by the serpent arrows of Indrajit, writhing on the ground and then becoming unconscious. To revive him, Hanuman brought back the entire Mahodaya mountain. Now there's different versions. Some say Mahodaya mountain, some say another mountain, with all its herbs. So while this is going on, there's the crowd around. There's Shushena, the physician, and there's Ram, and there's Lakshman, and there's everybody, Sugriva. And there's Dvivida. And Dvivida, he began to criticize Ram's weak, Lakshman is weak. He shouldn't act in this way. He's a great hero. And in addition to in his mind, offending Lakshman, he had this kind of competition going on with Lakshman. He wanted Ram's favor. So he became envious of the fact that Ram gave special affection to Lakshman. So he was competing with the guru-like representative of Ram. That's 3 strikes and you're out. That's baseball talk. But offense is a very serious thing. Here's Madhvacharya. Many of you know Vangshidhar is a disciple of Madhvacharya. No, excuse me. Vangshidhar is a disciple of Ramanujacharya. Yes? Vangshidhar is a disciple of Ramanujacharya. Here's what he writes. One night, while the war with Ravana was going on, Dvivida went inside Lanka and forcibly attacked some Rakshasis and disrobed them and went so far as to touch their genitals. Knowing this, Ram exiled him from the army. When Dvivida prayed for forgiveness, Lord Ram cannot happen as a devotee. You'll have to wait to Dwarpa Yuga. And then you can get liberated when you're killed by the next incarnation. That's Balaram. Entities, we'll hear some more as we go along. Some living entities live for long spans of life. Hanuman's an example. Long spans of life. Dvivida is another example. Vyasadeva is another example. They're called Chiran Jivas. They live for a long time. Practically endless. So-called. Long. Hard to calculate. Chiranjivas. So Dvivida is one of them. So Ram's Leela happened long before Krishna's Leela. So Ram is saying you have to wait to Dwarpa Yuga. And there's further details, but which Manvantar did Ram's Leela occur? Which Manvantar did Krishna's Leela occur? There's another big gap of time. While the exact offense against Lakshmana is not, I got this reference from Hari Parshad Prabhu. Some of you know him by name, some of you may not. Very scholarly devotee. I asked him, what was that offense that Lakshmana did? What scriptural reference is there? Shastra Praman. And he gave me this one. It doesn't say specifically what he did, but his comment to me, the exact offense against Lakshmana is not mentioned by this Acharya. What is indicated is the behavior was unrestrained and overly prideful. due to which he not only broke the sanctity of religious war, but considered others as weaklings. Proud of his strength. And with this proud of his strength, he criticized this scene with being hit by the weapons of Indrajit, criticized him, oh, you're weakling. Offense. Thinking him ordinary like he's not. That's an offense. Here's Sridhar Swami, same section, Canto 67, Canto 10, Chapter 67. The offense to the Lord's devotee. The little drawing on the left is showing Sridhar Swami, the original commentator of Srimad Bhagavatam. When Sugriva was going to offer his hospitality to Ram and Lakshman, a Vanara by the name Dvivida, one of Sugriva's ministers, gave wrong advice to Sugriva, not to worry about paying any respect or importance to Lakshman. Just focus on Ram. That's the fourth time I've said this offense. Instead of upacharam to Lakshman, he committed apacharam to Lakshman. Therefore, Dvivida became the friend of hellish planets, meaning he was fit to enter hell to be punished. So the verse reads, Bhagavata apacharam. That's describing Dvivida. Listen to this one. For the same reason, Sugriva, who yielded to Dvivida's wrong advice, got heavily beaten by Vali the first round of fight. For Sugriva's hearing and accepting the advice of Dvivida, he got whooped. Sugriva. Because he was only concerned about Ram, he did not care for the blessings of Lakshman. He had to go through this. When he ran and came back to Ram, then Ram asked Lakshman to garland Sugriva so that Ram can differentiate between Vali and Sugriva. But the truth is, Ram wanted Lakshman to bless Sugriva and for Sugriva to realize his mistake towards Lakshman. Isn't it nice? Lakshman offered the garland, which means he had to bow. He got the garland, but he had to bow before Lakshman. And by bowing before Lakshman, some realization came, I've offended Lakshman, and that's why I got this difficulty. Sridhar Swami's commentary. And then he also mentions the same sinful act, that during the war in Lanka, he snuck away at night, got involved with the Rakshasi ladies, cohabited with them. When Ram found out, he banished him. And then Dvivida came to Ram and asked for forgiveness. He said, in Dwarpa Yuga, only after being killed by Balaram can you attain Swarga. This is commentary that we accept as authoritative because it's from Sridhar Swami. Same verse, 67 chapter, text number 2, BBT purport, quoting Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. The fall of Dvivida and Minda is compared to that of Jai and Vijay. Now, Jai and Vijay are gatekeepers of Lord Vishnu. They don't fall. But it was a very unusual circumstance, specific for a pastime of the Supreme Lord, that he could then have 3 births. They could have 3 births and have combat. And so he, Vishwanath, likens the fall of Dvivida and Minda in the same way. They were Shaktivesh avatars of the Nitya Siddha personalities in Vaikuntha, arranged by the Supreme Lord, according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Now, those of you that were with us Tuesday, you saw this very same slide. Here it is again. This is Don't Offend Lakshman slide. From Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, for us it's nectar of devotion. He is describing Bhava Bhakti. And he writes, by two types of grave offense, one, offense to the dearest devotee or to Krishna himself, Krishna Preshta Aparadata. Even real bhava is destroyed. So is it possible? The answer is yes. Is it possible for bhava to be destroyed? That's very elevated. Make offense certainly can be destroyed. There's, depending upon the seriousness or gravity of the offense, there are different degrees of how bhava is diminished. Here's commentary by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describing 3 degrees. And in this case, Dvivida, the aparad, his bhava disappeared. By medium aparad, bhava became bhava bas, and by very slight, it diminishes. Madhura rati becomes dasharati, dasharati becomes shantarati. That's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary, but the principle is the same. The principle is don't offend one who is dear to Krishna. Pause. Very, very grave. Here's that same chart. Offense to a Vaishnav makes one susceptible to unfavorable association. Then anarthas can arise in that unfavorable association and then makes further offense. So that's the lesson. Now, just so that you're aware, we're on slide 27 of 42. There's more details coming, in other words. So what's this? This is a nice painting where Lakshmana is slaying Indrajit. It's in Ramayana. After Lakshmana had killed Indrajit, he was affected by fever. As he killed the Brahmana, Indrajit's grandfather was Vishravas, a great Brahmana. Now this is, the source of this is in Upapurana. It's not one of the staple, most important Puranas, but I'm bringing it up because it says Dvivida wrote a mantra in front of Lakshmana, and Lakshmana immediately became revived. His fever was gone. And then, according to this Upapurana, Dvivida said, please bring my destruction so I can attain Swarga. And that happened because later Lakshman became Balaram. Here's a nice photograph of the river Sarayu in Ayodhya. And it's the place where Ram ended his pastimes. And when Ram ended his pastimes, he spoke to Hanuman, Dvivida, Minda, and Jambavan. We mentioned this on Tuesday. 4 persons, you stay behind. And this is the place, we visited the place, it's a nice place. This is the place where he entered the river and disappeared with his associates. At the very place is a nice temple. Sitaram, Lakshman, and Hanuman is by their side, where they disappeared. So now when they disappeared, that's the end of Ram's Leela. Now we're moving forward to Narakasura. Who's Narakasura? We heard about Narakasura. Narakasura is the son of Vam. You put your hand up. Go ahead. Okay. Direct son of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But he became corrupted by Bana. And when Narakasura, who had imprisoned so many kings, right? Narakasura had imprisoned so many kings. Was it kings or queens? Queens. Krishna finished him. And the queens then became Krishna's wives. So when Narakasura was killed, his dear friend, he vowed death to Krishna. He became Krishna's avowed enemy. He vowed to destroy Krishna and his kingdom. Of course, that's not going to happen, but that was his mindset. So he went to the place. Dwarka was an island in the sea, and the area around that island in the sea is called Anarta, not Anarta, but Anarta. Prabhupada named one of his female disciples Anarta, and she was very confused. What's he giving me this name for? Because it's proximate to Dwarka, Anarta. So he went to that area and he made havoc as much as he could. Ravaged the land, setting fires to the cities, villages, mines, cowherd dwellings. Very, very, very powerful. Tore up mountains. He wanted to harass Krishna and his devotees. One time he went into the ocean with his powerful arms. He moved his arms so fast that the whole land became flooded. The strength of 10,000 elephants. The whole coast region became flooded. Just as a wasp imprisons smaller insects, he arrogantly threw both men and women into caves in a mountain valley and sealed the cave shut with boulders. He was a bad guy. According to Vishnu Purana, same personality, different passages speaking about him, took huge form at will, looted and destroyed all the crops of the kingdom, going around and smashing them. He climbed a tree branch and then revealed his presence by shaking the trees and making this gorilla sound. I don't know how to make a gorilla sound, but he did. Balaram was engaged with gopis, or ladies, dancing. And he saw the whole scene and he became very angered. So he picked up a big boulder rather than his club and threw the big boulder. And Dvivida dodged the boulder. And then not only he dodged the boulder, but he grabbed the Lord Varuni beverage. That was it. So Balaram finished him, one blow to his chest, his collarbone broke, and blood came oozing, pouring forth from his mouth, and he was finished. So that's the end of Dvivida. But, before that, he was in a very elevated position, but he made a big mistake. He offended Lakshmana. So we saw this. Here's Banasura was corrupted from childhood. He corrupted Narakasura. Narakasura corrupted Dvivida. So now, moving along. Some more genealogy. Kashyapa, pictured here. Marichi is pictured here. Marichi was one of Kashyapa's sons. Marichi married 13 of Daksha's daughters. And Marichi was present when the birth of Arjuna. So from Kashyapa and Diti came Hiranyakashipu. And as we know, Hiranyakashipu had 4 sons. Eldest was Prahlad. Now notice the detail when this took place. This is the Chakshusha Manu. Which Manu are we in? Vaivasvata Manu. Manu number 7. This is the previous Manu. So Prahlad had a son. His son's name was Virochan. Virochan's son's name was Bali. Bali's son was Bana. This is a previous Manu. That's the main point. A big time between one Manu and the next Manu. How many yuga cycles? 71 yuga cycles per Manu. That's a lot of time. So what does that mean? It means that Dvivida lived a long time. In the 8th canto, chapter 13, we find, in this Manvantar, the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared as the youngest of all the Adityas, known as Vamana, the dwarf. His father was Kashyapa, and his mother was Aditi. So there's Kashyapa and Diti, and Kashyapa and Aditi. Now we're moving on to the 6th canto. Prahlad had one son, Virochan, whose wife gave birth to Bali. Bali had 100 sons. Bana was the eldest. Now moving on to the 8th canto. The battle between the demon and the demigods. This was during Satya Yuga. We have big spans of time. We're talking as if it's like, the next year something happened the next year. I'm painting the picture on the authority of Srimad Bhagavatam. There's vast expanses of time. And if you don't pay attention to it, then you don't pick up. There's vast expansions of time. Just drawing your attention. Vast expansions of time between these events. But there's a flow. The sun god fought with 100 sons of Maharaj Bali, headed by Bana. 5th canto, chapter 24. Even now, Adhuna Api, Bali Maharaj engages in devotional service by worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the planet Suta. So Bali Maharaj, is one of those Chiranjivas. He's still there from a long time ago. What's he doing? Serving the Personality of Godhead. And including the next Manvantar. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary, going back a bit to Canto 8, some like Bali have long life but do not have good conduct or auspiciousness. Dvivida was one. Bali had good conduct. So this is the final slide. This is just giving you a picture, a very, very broad picture. We'll step back and we'll go back to the opening slide here. Two very important persons in Ramayana, not necessarily the most celebrated persons, but important persons, because the Supreme Lord wanted to teach a lesson that two eternal associates of his in the Vaikuntha realm, in the Ayodhya of the Vaikuntha realm, they're Dvivida and Minda. And he, Lord Ramachandra, wanted to teach a lesson. Make offense to one who is dear to the Supreme Lord, you can be corrupted, whoever you are. So, and we're not like that. So we're not Shaktivesh avatars. We're little people. Beware of offense. It's not minor, it's a major thing. Consequences are very serious, and they can span over long periods of time. Sin may be quickly eradicated. Offense doesn't get so quickly eradicated. There's consequence. So beware of offense. So that means when we need the association of sadhu. We also need to not offend sadhu when we're in the association of sadhu. It's not like double jeopardy. You need a sharp sword to cut through. But when it's a sharp sword, you got to be careful. It's a sharp sword. Prabhupada gives this example of a razor blade. It can shave your face or it can cut your face if you're not attentive. So sadhu sangha, everybody. There's 9 stages in bhakti. Right after the initial stage of subliminary faith, the next step is sadhu sangha. And then it keeps going right through up to the topmost stage, avoid offense. And so one more time. According to the Acharyas, Ramchandra arranged all of this to teach this lesson. No, we could highlight the importance of Lakshmana as the role of Guru, as Balaram is to Krishna, as Nityananda is to Lord Chaitanya. Lakshmana is to Ram. So he's in the background, but he's not secondary. He's to be respected as much as or as good as Lord Ramachandra. So that's the lesson. Lessons from Ramayana. Dvivida's defense to Lakshmana. Let's see if there's some discussion. There was a lot of detail. I don't expect you're going to remember all the detail. But you get the essence. See if there's some comments. Yes. Here's a microphone. You have a question from Mahabharata?
Yeah, related to this actually. So we understand, if you offend Lakshman, it resulted into what happened to these 2 apes. But in Mahabharata, we see Duryodhan pleasing Lord Balaram, right? At the same time, he was offensive towards Lord Krishna. But couldn't Lord Balaram, take care of him, getting into the service of Lord Krishna? Why did that not happen?
Well, he had favor toward Balaram, but he also had disfavor towards exalted devotees of Krishna. Correct?
Yeah.
Yes. He had one in particular. Bhima. He despised Bhima. So like Balaram in murder plot against Bhima, Kunti and the Pandavas, Yudhishthira, they don't mix. So your question is, couldn't Balaram have fixed the problem?
Yeah, because he's actually the
He's
Guru.
the Supreme Lord.
Yeah.
He's the Guru. He could bang him on the head and say, stop this.
In some ways, it's like at least he had some sort of respect,
There was something.
devotion towards Lord Balaram.
There was something. Yes. What you're saying is correct. But Balaram doesn't interfere with, just as Krishna doesn't interfere with free will. Now, Balaram could give advice. Guru gives advice. But then living entities make their choices. Free will choices. And his free will choice was in the dark side. Because of his ambition. He didn't care. I can't live on the same planet with these Pandavas. There must be war.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Free will choice. Someone behind you? Yeah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you very much for the amazing discussion and learnings from Ramayana. One thing I wanted to understand is Sugriva, when he did an offense to Lakshmana, Ramachandra gave him a chance to correct himself.
Yes.
And but that was not given to Dvivida. Why is that, Guru Maharaj? Is that another offense, like a previous thing that occurred, and that is why? Or?
There's no commentary that says what you're just saying. The only commentary that I can make sense with is there's degrees of offense. And what Dvivida did was different. Sugriva's mistake was just listening. And Dvivida's the one that was giving. And then, and it amplified later, criticizing, competing with. The darkness in his heart was not the same. Sugriva was a devotee. But he took some bad advice. So he got it.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the class. Beginning when Hanuman is disguised as an old man and
The screaming of the children is louder than you. Can something be done about the screaming of the children? Or can you speak a little louder, or combination?
yes, Maharaj. So fast forward and Hanuman reveals his true form and they meet. Do you think the minister is the one who would... So we can agree that some good advised Sugriva of some good things, correct?
I don't follow what you're saying. Could your father help? Help me understand what he's asking. He wants you to say it again, but I may need his help to say it differently. Go ahead.
Did Dvivida advise Sugriva to make Hanuman go and meet Lord Ram in the form of a Brahman?
No, he didn't do that. Sugriva sent Hanuman, you're my best minister, go do some spy work. Find out, are they friend or foe? Look at this, they're dressed like ascetics and wearing bow and arrow. So something's mischievous here. Check them out, friend or foe. And Hanuman did the espionage, and he knew, not just friend, he's to be fully trusted. So then he brought... So what you suggested didn't transpire. Okay?
And one more question. So the Vanar are more enlightened in the bhakti of Lord Ram, correct?
They became like that. They had... Vanara means, my understanding, from the order of Lord Vishnu, they had powers like the demigods who they were the sons of. They had powers, but they weren't necessarily Ram Bhaktas.
But they still had the knowledge, so...
They had what knowledge?
The knowledge of
what?
the bhakti of Lord Ram?
I don't know that that's true. I don't know if that's true. They had powers. That much is true. Don't assume anything unless you know for sure. Somebody behind you is raising their hand. They may have the answer to your question. Did the Vanaras did they already have bhakti before they met Ram and Lakshman?
Probably yes.
Probably, obviously.
Yeah.
Could you explain what's on the basis of you saying that? Because why?
Because Lord Hanuman was already there, who was a devotee of Lord Ram.
Hanuman was.
Maybe the influence of Hanuman.
That's an assumption.
I don't have a fact though, but I have a question though.
Okay.
Bali and Sugriva were looking similar, like they look alike. And when he came back after he got beaten up, and he bowed in front of Lakshmana,
Yes.
because of his
Yes.
offense he made.
Yes.
Is there any connection that Lord Ram could not recognize? That's why.
It's all Leela.
Oh.
It's all Leela.
Oh, he wanted him to get beaten up and then come back to.
Not just he wanted him to get beaten up. He wanted him, to learn a lesson.
Oh, okay.
So he didn't get, finished. The Leela. So it was to get a lesson. Don't offend Lakshman. Now, he didn't say it explicitly. You want to know why this happened? This is why it happened. It wasn't explicit. It was implicit as a Leela.
Is it true that Bali was more powerful and stronger than Sugriva?
In one sense, yes, in another sense, no. Because, who is their father of Vali, who is the father of Sugriva, and their respective powers. Now, it depends on the Acharya that you hear from. If you hear from Madhvacharya, you're going to get one picture. If you hear from the Sri Vaishnava Acharyas, you're going to get another picture. You follow what I'm saying?
I'm absolutely following.
So, Madhvacharya had special regard for Vayu. Correct?
Correct.
So, and that who is the son of Vayu? Hanuman.
Hanuman.
So he had the greatest power.
Correct.
Now then we have two other sons. And he discusses this. I can't remember the detail, but who is more powerful? The sun god, the son of the sun god, or the son of Indra? And so he has this way of analyzing things.
Okay.
Madhvacharya has a way of analyzing things in kind of like a hierarchy perspective. It's not our Gaudiya perspective, but it's Madhvacharya's perspective. And the Sri Vaishnavas have a different way of looking at it. That's what I just said in response to your question.
Yeah.
Your question is, who is really more powerful, Bali or Sugriva?
Correct.
That's your question.
That was my question. And following question was because of this.
Bali was apparently more powerful because he was the scourge of everyone. No, he was the elder brother, and so Sugriva submitted to him. But was he just submitting to him, and he was more powerful than Bali, which is your question? And I don't have the answer to that. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I'm okay with that. Because of his power, did he abduct his wife? And is it a Leela from Lord Rama?
What was what?
Bali abducted Sugriva's wife, right?
Yeah.
So was it because of his power, or is it because of Lord Rama's Leela?
No,
Sugriva-
Leela.
Ah,
It wasn't, subdued.
amazing.
No, Leela.
Leela.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Dandavad Pranam.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for the wonderful class. So one question. So in the story we have seen, so Dvivida fell down because he offended Lakshmana.
You got it.
So, so Maharaj, so now, so we are in the Kali Yuga, this material world. We offend so many Vaishnavas. So how we can protect ourselves?
We're hopeless cases. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo. And not just say the mantra, but, carry that mood, because that is a problem. What you say is true. We don't know what we're doing, and we're doing stuff. So sometimes we're doing nice, and sometimes we're not doing nice, and we don't even know what's what. So what to do? Be respectful to everyone. I just share with you and with all of you. I do it. After the first cry comes the second one. It's even louder than the first one. And the third one is louder than the second one. And the mother knows whose cry it is. And I'm not married. The weekend prior to this, I was in Gitanagari at our farm community in Pennsylvania. And there was a retreat with young people, Western people mostly. And the topic was respect, the fabric of relationships. Of any relationship, the fabric of any relationship. So, Vaishnava relationship, it's still the same, respect. Supposing you become lax or complacent. In the beginning, we're very careful. We're still going to make mistakes, but we're careful. And then after some time, you become a little complacent. Guaranteed, you're going to make mistakes. I mean, it's not like shame on you, it's just nature. So what to do? Cultivate respect. And respect for what? We had this discussion in the morning class. Very same point. To the soul that's striving to achieve connection again with Krishna, respect that. Shortcomings, yes. Do I have shortcomings? Yes. Striving to connect again with Krishna, let me respect that. And then the endowments that Krishna has given to this soul, that soul, the other soul, of how they can serve Krishna. I was watching the household, Mataji, this is your kitchen. I was watching you clean the kitchen while we were having kirtan. I mean, you were amazing. You just like zoom, 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 and everything. You know, you had somebody helping you, but you're skilled at it. And I imagined I could go wipe my finger across the stove and it's spotless. So, congratulations, you have a gift given by Krishna and you're using it nicely in service. Because cleanliness is next to godliness. So there may be some lapse. Something, who knows what. And so we'll have shortcomings, but we need sadhu sangha. And we're going to make some mistakes or offense, etc. So maximize respect and minimize fault finding. Okay. Not Gopal. Let me just go to someone else. Go ahead.
May I ask?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Maharaj. So, the root cause of offense is false pride, right, Maharaj?
Well, yes, misidentification, forgetfulness of ignorance is the root cause. Ignoring who we really are, ignoring Krishna is part of ignoring who we really are. Ignorance, root cause. And false ego, our dear friend.
Thank you, Maharaj. That's all I had.
Behind you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the class. So I was also wondering that Dvivida, he requested Lakshmana to destroy him, right? And so was that also a Leela on his side, kind of setting an example of what happens if you do an offense to a Vaishnava?
Well, that's pretty exceptional. You ask somebody to destroy them. It's exceptional. It's not the rule. The exception is not the rule. Does that answer your question? You want to ask it?
I think I'll have to think about that a little bit.
What was the exchange between Lakshmana and Dvivida is not usual. That exchange was exceptional.
Right. Okay. He wanted to set that example.
Yeah.
But that was
And the authority source is the Upa Purana. It's not one of the principal Puranas. Okay? Does that help you?
I think so.
Okay. From the ladies' side, I'm sure there's some topics from the ladies' side. No? There it is. Over here.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the wonderful class. What is the tendency for people to make offenses and then, realize that they've made an offense and now they need to correct themselves? So what is the point when they need to come, to...
Be very clear what your question is. I got the scene. What's the question? What's the point at which one does what?
Comes and, takes care of their offense, meaning like apologizes or, takes some sort of a rhetoric, way to correct that situation.
Okay. minimally internally, immediately, and then externally depends on the circumstance. Supposing somebody's now no longer present, they're remote. Supposing they're even departed. Supposing. So you have to look at the circumstance to determine the second part. Immediately some regret. According to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, tapa for a Vaishnava is regret. It's immediate. Don't obsess about it. That's mode of ignorance. But you acknowledge some mistake. This is a Jayadvaita Swami Upanishad. Recognition, the 4 R's he calls it. Regret, rectification, reinstatement. So first is to recognize. And then immediately, as soon as you recognize, you regret. That's internal. Both of those are internal. And then rectification depends, which is what your question is, kind of. Depends on the circumstance.
Thank you, Maharaj. So that would be the course of action in a situation where there is an offense that's committed.
Yeah, and it's let me just add, it's not only an offense, sometimes it's just a misunderstanding between two people. It's not that this one offended that one or that one offended this one and the problem is an offense. It can be just a misunderstanding. And sometimes people hold on to misunderstandings. Like sometimes people hold on to, they offended me, something they did or said. Now, some people don't hold on to that. But even if they don't hold on to it, it's good to make the slate clean. So when the occasion arises, you make a nice opportunity for you or the other person, whatever, whoever's involved, to have a conversation, very calm, peaceful conversation about some event. There was a misunderstanding or perhaps even an offense. And what I'm about to say is come from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's Madhurya Kandambani. Supposing the other party doesn't forgive. Now, Vaishnava is going to forgive. But supposing for some reason they don't forgive. He proposes. You wait some time, you go back again. You wait some time, you go back again. And if that happens and several times and there's no acknowledgement of forgiveness, then you've done your part and you chant Hare Krishna. That's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. The whole section on aparad and overcoming the consequence of aparad. It's a very serious stage of bhakti, is getting on the other side of anarthas, and the most difficult of anarthas to get on the other side of is those due to aparad. So he covers it. It's a nice topic. Madhurya Kandambani, I think it's chapter 4.
Thank you, Maharaj. Maharaj, can I extend the question a little bit more? If you're a mediator and then there are two parties and you have to help them because you are thinking...
Speak closer to the microphone.
Sorry. So if you're like in the position of a mediator and there are two parties and you want to help them because both are Vaishnavas, and how do you help them? I mean, what would be...
Well, I'm not a mediator skilled. Find out from those who are professional or trained mediators. Mm-hmm. There are persons like that. I can give you the names of two people, and they're more than willing to guide you to become a mediator. Braj Bihari and Brahmatirtha, two names. Brahmatirtha is in Alachua, and Braj Bihari is
BC.
Half the time in Potomac and the other half the time in Govardhan.
Thank you, Maharaj.
They can train you, or at least guide you.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Okay, that looks like it. There's a lot of people here. I was told on the way over here that the host and hostess are really good at gathering people together and making them feel happy and welcome, and Vaishnava Association. And look at this. It's a good thing you got a big home, or at least a big space in this home to have everybody meet. I'm complimenting you while you're off doing some other service. So when I came here, I came from our farm community in Pennsylvania named Gitanagari. Some of you may know about Gitanagari. It's the home of Radha Damodar, the original Radha Damodar from the Radha Damodar bus days. And they're very, very merciful deities, and they have very nice prasadam. So I brought some Mahaprasadam from Radha Damodar, and I hope there's enough to go around. Is there enough to go around? Okay. So don't go too far away. I'm just going to walk around and give out Mahaprasadam to everybody. And watch the kids that come running down the stairs and pitter-patter. And Srila Prabhupada ki, Ramachandra ki, Gaur Premanandi.